Now, when you're working with the CompTIA blueprint, you might get a little confused here because you see this PC cables and connectors and you realize, wait a minute, we already did this in a nugget called PC interfaces. Yes, there's a ton of carryover here. So what I'll do is go through the display connector types, display cables, cables and connectors on devices and adapters and converters, but only things that we did not cover in the PC interfaces nugget. So please reference that nugget as well to make sure you've got great coverage in all these topics. So there's just so many ways in which you could connect the display today. And in our PC interfaces, we looked at something like HDMI or VGA. There's some additional terminology here and connector types I wanted to show you there. We could also do a display port. Look at this. This is a display port connection and cable. There's RCA. We showed this in our PC interfaces nugget, but we didn't really show you a cable. There's HD15, which is the fancy name for the cable that we would use with VGA that we discussed. There's mini HDMI. So here we can see the large and the mini versions of that technology. And finally, there's mini DIN 6, which is a connector and a cable that you'll see on older PCs for connecting video. So in addition to all of the interfaces we've already looked at, here's some more terminology that we really should be aware of. And once again, you know we've already covered all kinds of cable types like the HDMI cable and the DVI cable and the VGA cable, but I did want to give some terminology here that we did not cover from this section. If you have a component cable like this, you notice they're going to divide up these jacks that you're going to use and you're going to plug them into the appropriately color-coded ports. But you might have a composite RCA cable, for instance, where they're all in one. And don't forget, displays may feature a coaxial cable. We'll really dissect coaxial cable when we talk about network cables because it can also be used for networking. When it comes to different device cables and connectors, again, I referenced the earlier nugget where we took a look in these in great detail, but I do want to mention that there's one we didn't cover, and that's the PS2. And this takes you back in time, doesn't it? Remember how we would use these to connect our mouse and our keyboard to the PC? Why have these faded away? Well, USB is taken over in this particular category, and even wireless devices for mouse and keyboard capabilities. And so with all these incredible options, we need all kinds of incredible adapters. Think about it. We may have a DVI port and we want to take that and convert it to HDMI. We may have USB that we want converted to an Ethernet signal for networking. We might have DVI to VGA, Thunderbolt to DVI, PS2 to USB, HDMI to VGA. The list goes on and on, where we have a particular port and we want to convert that to connect to some other port on another device. I gave a great example right here of one that I use every day. I'll show you this in the laptop nugget, but the latest MacBook that I have has the one little USB-C port on it. Really, that's it, and a headphone jack. That's it. So what you need right away is an adapter to plug into that one port and then give you other port options. Here is where you can connect power, here is where you can connect HDMI, and here's where you can connect old school USB. Remember, this is a USB-C, so this is a brand new connector type and a port type. So we have an adapter to take this device that has so ridiculously few ports and add port functionality to it. So just a simple brief little nugget in which we take a look at display connector types, display cable types, device cables and connectors, and adapters and converters, but only the ones we have not elaborated on in great detail in other nuggets of this particular course. I sure hope you found this nugget informative, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.